Doing okay. Sorry, I have to ice. I did something. I don't know if I thought
Oh,
about the disaster that is my house right now because I just got repiped yesterday, but I must have thought, oh, what a pain in the neck. And
oh,
that's how I woke up. And it's only
oh,
getting a
that's
bit worse. Hmm?
oh dear. That's what happens when your thoughts get powerful, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's a thing as a therapist, you would call it like somaticizing. Like
Oh,
I used to work with when I worked with teenagers, and the one used to say she'd hear some bad news and she'd go, "Oh my God, that just makes me sick." And within like 5 minutes, she's
she'd
vomiting.
be sick.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
Yeah. I mean, our words have power, but
They do,
it's hard to remember that sometimes. And then you're like, oh crap. Yeah, I made that happen.
right? Words do have power.
They do.
Absolutely. And the English, well, it's odd because we're going to start talking about, well, one thing I wanted to convey in this discussion is about the tear rune, and what it means for the translation of from spirit consciousness to our reality level, right? What exactly, how, let's talk about our conversation
Let's talk
before
about
we
our
have it.
conversation. Yeah. So hi, I'm just going to look into the camera and say hi. I'm Noelle Dean from Connecting
Oh,
with Noelle on various platforms. I also have podcasts, a few, Vagina Whispering and Mediumship Sparks. And this is my dear friend Maria Lilly.
hello. Nice to
And
meet
Marie,
you all.
thank you. Do you want to say something about yourself?
Um, Glad to be here. Thank you
Okay.
for having me. And eh, I'm an artist. I'm an average person, so
Don't
I
believe that. So Maria and I,
am. I am.
okay, so I want to give us a little intro. So Maria and I are 56 years old, and we went to high school together. And we probably had like a 33-year gap of not being in touch. And then we got in touch over Facebook.
Yeah.
And, we were in high school, we would drink together and, do high school stuff. That was about that. And then when we
We partied
reconnected,
really good. Yeah, we did.
you especially.
Oh, yeah.
Me, I was kind of lame, but
Oh no.
she's still making fun of the time I got high and drunk and refused to walk. But
That wasn't what I was thinking of because there were other fun times. But
we did
that
have
was,
some fun times. We did.
yeah, that was memorable. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it was really sweet when we finally reconnected, and I was so excited to see you because I had wondered like what had happened to you, and I wasn't able to find you previously. And then we had spirituality in common, and you were pretty ahead of me as far as spirituality, and you were, trust me, you knew a lot more than I did. I'm well, in certain ways. I mean, I think I had been working towards some mediumship, but you talked about elementals and things I hadn't even heard of. So we expanded each other in some ways in this realm.
Absolutely.
And we don't talk as regularly as we used to, but I love when we talk about spiritual stuff. And Maria called and was sharing about some spiritual stuff, and I was like, oh, this is definitely something I want to share, because for other people who don't have a Maria or a Noelle to talk to these things about, I want you to feel included. So this is going to be part of the Deepening Mediumship series that I have, which I've only got one video there right now. That's also with a really close friend, and we were just having a conversation. So this is just going to be us having a conversation about this stuff, and follow along or not. And I'm probably not going to edit this. So unless we say something naughty that we don't want to share, just because it's time consuming, and I have limited transcriptions on the program I pay for each month. So anyway, so this is just us being us, but wanting to share with you. So welcome, and hope you get value out of whatever it is that we're going to share about that we're not sure yet. But you started with a really interesting idea. So do you want me to recap what we talked about, or do you want to
Um,
start us off there?
well, I mean, it's, I guess the reason why I called you this morning, uh, because I was really inspired by the the concept, and it's more than a concept. And this is where our language does fail us. Um, the concept of translating from spirit to our reality, and how does that happen? And I had these questions in my mind, and I pulled runes, and the rune I pulled was the tear rune, and that rune it's it looks like a in some forms you could consider it like a Greek temple column.
Okay.
Anyway, but it's the idea of I do believe it's the idea of translating one thing to the other and spirit to matter. And I have been asking my guides to help me with this communication because it's rather complicated. And I had no idea it was really that complicated. Does that sound?
Yeah, yeah. And I was not quite capturing what, and I'll just talk, I could talk to our watcher, but well, so I wasn't quite capturing what Maria was saying. And then it occurred to me, like, as you were saying it, so in, let's say, the arena of mediumship, we get information a lot of different ways. And my understanding was that what you were talking about is like, it's one thing to see words and get pictures or little clips of things or smell something, and they're pretty specific. But
Right.
there are times when it's like, I mean, I used to say in the class that I teach, which is just very foundational mediumship stuff, I used to say it's like a gentle breeze. So don't expect stuff to hit you. It's like subtle. But then I'm noticing it's getting more and more subtle. And I think that's what you were referring to. Now, when you say spirit or spirit consciousness, that's different than spirit messages, right? Or is it the same?
It's the same. I think when
Okay.
you're communicating in my, okay, from what the language I'm using,
Hmm.
to me, that's the same thing.
Okay.
Um, Messages, concepts, consciousness,
Gotcha.
I do believe that our guides are trying to relay to us
Hmm.
information, and we've discussed this in mediumship class that, yeah, your ego gets in the way and blah, blah, blah. And it does. And because I'm not knocking it, it does. It gets really fucking loud. Excuse me. Um,
Just be yourself, Maria. Don't worry about it.
oh, great. Okay.
Sorry, we're
Sorry,
both from New Jersey. You're just gonna have to cope with that.
people. Um, but yeah, it's so, but it does feel like if I go through the process as slowly as I possibly can, it feels like crystallization for me. Like it's like it comes in this wave of emotion. And sometimes, yes, I get to hear weird words or music, but then when I start talking to someone else or I have some food or whatever, and you come back down to the reality, it seems like that material that you've gained becomes brittle in a sense. It's almost like our world can't totally contain these
Mm,
spiritual messages sometimes. And I'm not saying that, we're all going to implode. No, I don't mean that. I think we have to adapt.
yeah,
We've been brittle for so long that I think part of this communication is us becoming more malleable.
gotcha. So when you say, sorry, when you say brittle, I think something that can easily break, but what you mean is inflexible, I think.
Inflexible. Well, it
Got
could
it.
break.
Okay.
And so what if
Could
we
break, yeah.
break? Because we're still energy and we're still gonna reform ourselves. So that's okay. You know
Yeah.
what? That's okay.
It's a good word then, brittle,
Mm.
for that. Yeah, totally get that. And I hear you about the idea of spiritual concepts don't always like fit in with what we know to be true here or what seems like practical.
Truly.
And then there was also the thought that recently I had noticed that when I'm doing mediumship for another person,
Hmm.
um, that I'm getting like fewer words and pictures, and it's coming. It's interesting because claircognizance is when it like we get a download and then we have like this knowing. And I don't know if it's claircognizance. I mean, it must be because it can't be, it doesn't fit into the categories of other things. But
So,
it's, I barely capture anything. There's like an essence of something that's sort of like, oh, I feel the essence of something kind of hitting me, but I
mhm,
just kind of have to talk. And then I have to say to whoever I'm doing this with, like, let me just start articulating what I think it is. And if it's wrong, I think I'll feel it. And then I'm checking in as I'm saying it, but it's like way less information. And I
mhm.
feel even more like I'm making it up, which I don't always feel, but I feel at times. I would think all of us do.
I think that's what causes a lot of our doubts when that
Oh yeah.
happens, is that last process when we're coming into where we're going to form words.
Mm.
That's where we get stuck, right? That's what it feels like to me. Like
Oh,
right when we're about to, we want to express it into words, and it's
right.
like, oh wow, I thought I was thinking in words, but maybe not. Because it all, it's very interesting.
So I have a question for you. When you say that, do you mean like when you have a dream and then if you don't write it down right away, it sort of like disappears? Like the consciousness or the information you're getting is like elusive? Like I got it, I got, fuck, what
Exactly.
was
I
it?
do feel,
Like
yes,
that.
I do feel
Okay.
it's like that. And that's why I think um that it's not just me that thinks this, but you have to keep that channel open because it's like your arteries getting clogged. It
Mm,
has, you have to keep it open, or yeah, it'll get clogged, and you won't get to get as much information and feeling, and
mm.
you won't be as malleable. If you're just like this a little tiny channel.
Thank you. You're just reminding me, is it right to share about this now? About resistance.
Mm.
Resistance. So just to catch
Oh, do talk about
our
it.
watcher up. So, like 30 years ago, I was basically scammed by a very psychic woman.
Mhm.
And ironic, I ended up doing this many, many years later, but I have been like, nope to tarot cards and a nope to psychic readings.
Hmm, okay.
For whatever reason, I just have had an aversion to doing those things.
That's
And not, and I have, and I don't mind if people use tarot cards, like with me or pull a rune or some kind of divination tool. I'm okay, but I don't. Uh, well, one time Spirit told me to change a deck of playing cards into some kind of message card. So I wrote words and numbers, however I was guided. And it came up 13 years later when I did a retreat at my house. Like I saw that deck of cards and I pulled it out not knowing why. And all that stuff was written. I was like, holy crap, I totally forgot.
fun.
That
Wow,
was really
that's so
cool.
fucking cool. Excuse me. Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
so I was doing a trade with a woman that I don't really know, but I met through a mutual friend. And um, so she's going to give me Reiki and I'm going to give her a reading. And I'm thinking, oh, she looked at my website. She knows what I offer. But either she didn't or I am anal about, well, when I say mediumship, I mean, your grandmother or a guide. Like I'm not offering psychic readings, but she said, hey, tomorrow during our reading, these are the questions I'd like you to ask. And it's about her romantic relationship and her daughter's business. And I'm like, uh, I don't, I didn't respond, but I was like, I don't do that. And then that same day, oh, did I do both of them that day? I think the day before, I have been connecting with an old friend who's really struggling. And so his dad passed last year, and I bring messages from his dad occasionally, and he was struggling. I was like, do you want me to see if your dad has any advice for you? So I got a bunch of messages from his dad because I'm thinking it's his dad, but it's about stuff that's happening or that could be happening, right? And then I meet with somebody, a young woman I've known for a long time because I'm like supporting her on her awakening. And I realize I'm kind of anxious and in a rush, and I'm just boom, 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 booming like all this psychic type information. So when I say psychic, it's like, well, this could happen. And I'm seeing you guys moving, and it's about her boyfriend, who I don't even really have permission, but it's all stuff about them. But anyway, as I sat later with, I don't do those, I was like, wait a minute. I just did two of those. What am I talking about? It's all about communication with their guides and their team. Who am I to say, well, I don't want to touch that info? Like, it's
Mm,
all communicate in my mind.
yeah. Oh,
I used to not
definitely.
think that. I used to think, well, psychic was I'm just picking up on the energy that's happening right now. And in 5 minutes, if you shift how you feel or think or do things, now that information is not going to like pan out because you've shifted. So I don't want to do that. And I don't want to predict things and I don't want to create dependence. So anyway, it was interesting to
And
realize,
that's totally respectable.
totally
Absolutely.
get that. But I really was resisting. Like, I don't use
Thing.
what I do for this or that. And excuse my language, but who the fuck cares? If somebody want it and their guides are sharing this through me, I don't need to draw those kinds of lines. And it was kind of weird that I was doing that because I try to encourage people like, hey, you can use these skills with so many things. Don't limit yourself. And here I was cutting off a whole thing. So that was very long, but thank you for listening. But those
No, no.
pieces felt important. And the resistance thing, I think, is a big deal because even meeting this morning, I have a terrible pain in my neck. My house is a disaster.
Oh,
But
I
Maria,
see what you're saying. Okay. You're talking about resistance as in, oh, I don't want to do that.
all of it,
I
all
don't
of
feel
it.
like this. And then you're like, oh shit, I'm doing it. Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Or even meeting, like, look,
I see.
if 2 weeks ago you called and my house looked the way that it does, because everything's in disarray and I'm overwhelmed, I would have been like, Maria, I don't have time for this today. But I just recently had an experience where I was very off and then I grounded and I did some mediumship and then I felt amazing. And I was like,
Oh,
what
it's
am I
good for
thinking?
me.
So you really supported me by reaching out this morning because
Cool.
I got excited about something rather than, oh my God, this is such a pain in the neck. And so thank you.
You're very welcome.
But I wouldn't have expected that, right?
Uh,
Maybe
it was weird. So I was just sitting on the toilet and I was like, I was thinking
being
about
near
all the,
water helps. Let's not discount that.
and I was like, why was it? I'm thinking about this whole thing and how am I doing? Am I doing a good job? Because I want to be good for myself, but I want to be good for the spirits. And I'm like, you know, and I had pulled that rune and I'm like, well, I was like, I should talk to Noelle. I need to call. I mean, it was just like call Noelle.
Yeah.
You got because it was important and I could tell it was important.
So I just went on about stuff and we never actually got to why you pulled the rune, what that rune means, and what is it about the Roman column.
Oh, well, this was just and I could be full of shit, but I don't think so. Um, so right?
All legitimate questions we should be asking ourselves,
All
honestly,
the
all the
time.
time. Yes.
So,
Just sounds funny, but yeah.
it does. It does. But, I gotta be real, right? So, I'm thinking about this whole thing of translating from spirit and getting it right and giving them
Mm,
the respect they deserve and
okay.
letting them help me because, sometimes honestly, I know that I'm just really difficult person to work with. And yeah. So, or maybe I'm not. Okay, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad.
I'm sure
Evidently,
you're
I'm
not.
I'm not
Yeah.
that bad.
Anyway,
But I do have some blocks that I have to get over. Let's put it that way.
gotcha.
So anyway, and that was I think that's a big part of it. And because I've really been sensing it in the communications that um it's really understood on a certain level of my consciousness. And I'm there. And when I'm there, I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. That's so beautiful. I could cry. I cry on a regular basis. And then I come
Mm.
down and it feels like bricks. right?
Oh, like
Like,
a
like,
rude awakening.
well, yeah, because I'm here. I don't mean to say it's rude awakening because we're here, you
Yeah,
know.
well,
Yeah. Okay. Well,
to be
anyway,
fair.
whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, you come down here and everything's much heavier, and
Yeah.
the crystallization of those thoughts, it becomes, it can't help but lose vibrancy because
Oh,
we're
yes.
just, yeah, we don't I don't know, do we not vibrate that high here?
Well, I love what you're saying because I'm totally with you. So, and sorry, my brain's a little bit slow, but I feel like I'm able to catch on. So what you're saying is when I'm in the energy of connecting, all this stuff is so clear. And I feel good and I feel light and I feel connected to that. And then when you get back to like, oh, I'm sitting in my chair or I'm sitting on the toilet or wherever, um, like, oh, it's almost like getting this big epiphany or insight, and then it's sort of like floating away a bit. Like there's an energy that you're in that moment when you're receiving that information. And it is hard to sustain that energy. It is.
Seriously. And people would feel very uncomfortable, I think, around you if you walked around like that all day. Not only that, I don't know, it's
Mm,
a really good idea, but you know,
yeah.
I mean, is this just a big signal that we need to come up in the fucking world and we're a bunch of low vibrational
Losers.
schmucks? Yeah.
It's funny you choose the Yiddish word. That's adorable.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good question. And I think it's easy to get caught up in the everyday grind of being here and, like, I don't know, kind of eking out a living or a life. That's what's coming to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm feeling reminded too that we came for this human experience. So it's
We
not that
did.
we said, let's maintain our spiritual in, and just as I was going to say the word enlightenment, like I'm aware of the light part, like being light, being
Yeah.
raised. And but that wasn't like there I'm getting that wasn't part of the deal, was to try to stay connected to our
Oh,
own spiritual essence all the time. This is coming
oh,
to me right now.
oh, okay. So that's why
Um,
we're so, yeah. So it
yeah,
has to be this way.
we came for a human experience. If we're, and now they're giving me a visual is like as if you could grab some of the energy here and some of the energy here, and you're trying to like pull it together more, like bridge it more.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, they're saying, I'm seeing worthy struggling,
Worthy. Okay.
which
So
I,
we're on the
I,
right track.
yeah, yeah. And I've been hearing things about vibration, and I think about my friend Margot, who I might have shared about with you. She was one of the guests on my podcast, and somebody I knew many years ago, a very spiritual woman. Um, she was the leader of my first development circle. Did I tell you about her?
I think so. Yes.
Anyway, so she's, 83. She's just starting a
Oh,
podcast,
wow.
she's doing all kinds of cool stuff. And I love spending time around her because, I mean, I hope I'm not too like negative or in my head that weighs her down because I can be that way. Um,
We all
but
can. I mean, we all
yeah,
do
and
it.
yeah, but she and I know she's that way too, but I feel like she has, and she's 83, so she's had more time to practice, but she really works, and I know she has to work at it to keep her own vibration up, and then she has these moments of being, maybe younger or something, but her spiritual maturity, the way she and she pays very much attention to her language. She wouldn't
Mm.
have said something was even in her head, probably. She wouldn't have said it was a pain in the neck. She might have had a moment of like, ugh, and then she'd be like, but I know this is happening for my good. And and I just love that about her. She's such a good influence in that way.
Mm.
Vibration is so important. And do you want to hear something that might blow your mind a little bit?
Absolutely.
I'm going to do a podcast about this, maybe 2 episodes, I'm not even sure, on mediumship sparks. But I was
Cool.
thinking, how can my audience, whoever my audience is, benefit from me also being a therapist? I don't think I mentioned I'm an intuitive medium, but I am. But I'm
Wow.
also a licensed therapist. And so the idea from a couple of years ago about supporting people who are in that, am I crazy? Am I spiritually connected? Like I'm experiencing things that are worrying. What do I do? How do I know? Kind of thing. And so I have a conversation with a friend of mine who is a new medium. She's been doing mediumship for probably about 3 years now. Um, so she had her awakening and then she was able, and then we worked together and she developed her mediumship skills. She's really good.
Awesome.
And she's also a neuropsychologist. So she knows a lot about the brain. She's the doctor now. And she was a therapist. And anyway, we're talking about this stuff. And I was
I'm
bringing
a
up
housekeeper, by the way, to see.
Maria's an entrepreneur and has had her own business for 25, 30 years. And
I
I'm
just think
sure,
it's amazing the level of people that you get in this mediumship, the brilliancy of doctors and
mm,
therapists and the simplicity of someone like me. It's amazing that, or is it that spirit comes to all of us to talk?
yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely. It's widespread and very diverse among all of us. But try this on. So I'm talking to her about people who have psychotic experiences. So, like, they hear things and see things that aren't there. So, think of
Hello.
homeless people arguing with somebody that we don't see on the street. That's an
Yeah,
extreme example because a lot of times they can be using drugs, probably to drown out a lot of the things that they experience, right? So, that's like the
absolutely.
end of this spectrum. And then there's, this spectrum where you don't really, sorry, I'm going to say that wrong. Scratch that last part. Anyway, I was saying to her, like, the difference between like schizophrenia. Oh, and Maria has a brother who is a paranoid. Is he a paranoid schizophrenic?
Yes.
Okay. So you know better, certainly way better than a lot of people and better than me, what that can be like. And basically, she was saying, I don't want to address schizophrenia. You could be depressed and very depressed and then have psychotic experiences.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm going to butcher it, but I'm just going to go for it anyway.
Just go for it. Just talk.
Basically, she said the only difference between people that we would consider, let's say, having a psychotic break and us who are doing mediumship is like coping and level of support and vibration. Like when your vibration is low, when your mood is low, and your energy level is
You're
low,
gonna have bad thoughts
you're going to
and
have
you're
bad
gonna
thoughts because
suck
you're
it in.
attracting that. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
I don't want to get into like it's a manifesting and shame on you for manifest.
No.
Like it's easy.
No.
I can feel that for myself sometimes, and I'm not doing that. But to me,
No.
it blew my mind that you need.
My dog is
Oh,
trying to climb up my chair. Okay.
Maria has 4 dogs, and luckily nobody's walking by the house right now. I'm sorry, three. Sorry.
No.
Um, yeah, she had four a while back. Yeah, so she was saying that's the only difference. And my mind was kind of blown by that she believed that. And then I did a little digging, and there's research that's being done on that. And they're saying that if you are, and I don't want to address it as schizophrenia because there's other things that
It's
can
a
go
basket name, just like bipolar, it's a basket name for a bunch of symptoms. That's all it
right,
is.
right. Yeah, it's a label that describes a list of behaviors. Now, schizophrenia has other like disorganized thinking and delusions of like the CIA is coming after me. That's very different than I feel chills on this side when this is happening. Like there is a line that separates the two. But it was fascinating to me that she was saying there's no difference. It's just all part of the same thing. It's just on a spectrum. And for
Mhm.
somebody who has support and can reach out and talk to somebody about this stuff so they feel less alone, they feel less isolated by it.
Well, and
They're,
that it's not something to be afraid of,
yeah,
or because everyone makes it a scary thing. Oh, mental illness could be like, possession and they go crazy with all kinds of what could
Yeah.
mental illness be, from possession to chemical imbalance, which there could be some chemical
Yeah.
imbalance. I
True.
totally agree with what you're talking about, and that is like a beautiful thing, that
Mhm.
we can see mentally ill people in that way.
Mm.
I really do appreciate that. And I do think that it is part of the same thing. And I think part of it is if they had control of their emotions and their thoughts, then it wouldn't be, they'd still be weird, in normal society.
Well,
But
they would function differently because they do have a genuine mental health disorder, whether it's a chemical imbalance or wherever that comes from.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe something different going on in their actual brain.
or in some
Um,
ways, are they too close to spirit? Are they not grounded? Like
do
we
they
were,
not have, oh, sorry.
no,
Or do
yeah,
they not have like boundaries, emotional or energetic boundaries?
right.
So I was just doing a reading with somebody the other day. It was a friend and her family was there, and somebody in the family was saying, like, hey, I'm pretty nervous about trying to be more connected with my loved ones in spirit because I'm afraid if I open the door and now I'm getting a visual, like he was afraid somebody would put like their foot in the door and then he could never close it. And I was like, well, I can't tell him what he's going to experience, but I was clear, like, I don't have that experience at all. And I was referring to a TV medium or a medium who's been on TV named, and I can't remember her last name, but her name is Lisa and she's English. And I used to watch her show. And I can't think of her name, and I'm not going to look it up right now, but I'm sure you could find her if you Googled her. But she on her show, she used to show she had like a red beret or something, and when she was ready to work, she'd put her hat on, and that was her signal, like I'm available. And then when she was done, she had really strong boundaries. She would take it off. Whereas you see a show like Long Island Medium, and she doesn't uh that's not what she shows. What she shows is I'm just out to dinner and spirit's coming to me and coming to me and coming to me. So I'm just going to go over to this person, and she would get all nervous and kind of worked up about it. And then she would just go approach the person. And as soon as she did, she would get the right person. She'd be able to give a message and then she could relax. And so, I mean, that's even like, I think, an interesting example of how people handle things very differently.
Absolutely. How do you communicate, and because you are gonna be a team, and the only door you're gonna close is your door. They're always right
Mm,
there. They don't go
good
anywhere.
point. Yeah.
It's your door that you're closing. But yeah, there's so many ways to handle it, and I think you need to talk to your peeps about it and say, okay, well, how do you want to handle this? You know? What does this mean? What does that mean? Sometimes I get surprises. The other day I got brain suck. I'm like, well, what is the, I don't know. You're making me panic. I don't know what the fuck this is.
Wait, you
So,
got the message brain suck?
no, I felt like my brain was being sucked
Oh,
as a
yikes.
signal. And I'm going, but I don't know what that means. I don't
Mm,
understand what brain suck means. And actually I still don't, but
wow.
it's just a matter of now the brain suck is much gentler. It's really, you can get yes or no signals from spirit in your body if you want
Yeah.
to. There's a book I'm recommending this author. I sent you a page of it. It was fantastic, and this is going off subject, but I love her. Um, Anastasia Nutt. She wrote a book about spiritual discernment and how,
Ooh.
yeah, I sent you a little paragraph. It was really interesting. And the paragraph that I sent you was about vertigo, getting vertigo,
Oh
and
my.
sometimes feeling like you have pains in your neck. Funny. Um, and she talks about when you're continuously not using, but you're having more spirit, being a more open channel.
Yeah.
uh you get leaks. And a lot of times it's by your neck. If I hope I'm translating this properly, um it can be by your neck or your back or whatever, and you can get vertigo. And that's also a sign that you're uh just you're dealing with
Leaking?
spirit on a regular basis. And so your body has to adjust. It has to be able to handle what you're doing.
I love, so I'm
Isn't
gonna,
that fucking fascinating? I mean, it was a badass book, and I'm gonna read it again, and I recommend it
what's
to.
the name
And
of the book?
may I
Because
go
I was
get it?
trying to look her up and I couldn't find her.
Okay, hold on. Let me
Yeah,
get
go
it.
ahead.
I'm stuck.
That's from a dog.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sing or play Jeopardy music, which is what's coming to my mind right now. But while we're waiting for Maria, I'm going to share a very cool synchronicity that happened to me this morning that was like, even I was surprised. And I wrote it down in my observation journal, a big recommendation that I make to everybody when they're first starting to get information, just to keep track of things and when something new happens. So I woke up with the song in my head. Uh, so I'm just sharing something that happened this morning. So I
Okay.
wake up, I wake up with a song every day, as a lot of us do. So I am hearing it's all right. Once you get, sorry for saying, past the pain, you're bound to find love.
Oh
Keep your whole.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
right. So I Google the lyrics and I'm listening to the song, and that's what I do when I get a song. I don't always think to ask why am I getting this song, although I have it posted on my monitor that's reminding me to do that. But of course, there you go. Anyway, so I'm listening to that song and I feel moved to like put on something else. So I go to the app for Sirius like satellite radio, right? And I'm looking and I meant to find Smokey's Soul Town, which I love. And of course, it's like in the 70s, you start out at like two. So I'm scrolling, right? And then when I get to it, you know what I see? I took a picture of it. Janet Jackson, and I guess she has a song called But It's All Right. And as I'm reading Janet
Oh,
Jackson, But It's All Right, I'm hearing, But It's All Right, all right. And I was like, whoa, that's close even for me.
that's beautiful.
It was
I
pretty
love
cool. So,
that.
yeah. So I've had a few recently. I was thinking about somebody that we haven't talked since Christmas Eve. This happened like, I don't know, 4 days ago or something. And he's been on my mind. And I was like, let me just reach out. You know what? I'm just going to reach out and say, hey, this is to a friend of mine. Hey, if so and so, your family member wants another reading, I'll just meet with her on the phone. Like, and I was like, I'm just going to text it. And just as I thought that, I hear ding. And I'm like, no, it was fucking him. I couldn't believe it. I mean, we all get synchronicities all the time, but it feels like it's speeding
But
up or
the
something.
more you get them, the better you feel.
Yeah, it's good
I
validation.
I feel great when I
Ugh.
know that the synchronicities are just
Mm,
rolling. So I want to step back, and then
please.
I
Yeah.
want to tell you about the book, and I want to step back because she also talks about this. Um, when when you were talking about the resistance of using cards or whatever,
Mm,
runes, this is interesting with this lady. She talks about this and she says you can use your runes, and this is what I do use them for,
hmm.
and your cards when you're talking to spirit. You get a message and you go, okay, I'd like to verify this. How can we do that? And so then you do your card thing, or you pick a rune,
Okay.
and it becomes a kind of verification for you, which is really important. And it's always important to have others, I think, verify with you, if you can, if it's something that you can share with everyone, or friends like you, and you would go and say, hey, I need help with this. Can you look at this for me? Kind of thing. And yeah, and that helps.
Yeah.
But also if you get a physical verification of like cards that are saying, yeah, that's
Mm.
exactly what spirit just said to me, and you go, oh, okay. And then, that's a really wonderful verification right there if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you got the
Hmm.
the spirit, and then you got physical. And it's like, okay, how cool
Yeah.
is it?
So, do you want to say more about, oh, can you show the book?
Mhm. Um, is that backwards?
Oh. No, that's perfect.
Okay. It looks backwards.
Unseen Worlds and Practical Aspects of Spiritual Discernment.
Hmm.
Wow, I think I should get that book. I
Yes, I
love
do.
that. Yeah.
I
Okay.
absolutely do. She's great. I got it. Now I'm not sure. It's a it's RJ Stewart books, and that's where I got it. Um, so, but yeah, I think you should get, or
Yeah.
I'll get it for you. Who's that? Let me
You
get
don't
it
have
for
to
you.
do that.
Why not? Okay, we're on TV. Whatever this is. We'll do this later.
TV.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Oh,
Well, and you know what? Part of what Maria and I, just talking to our watcher, used to do often is we used to talk pretty often on the phone or on Zoom or something, and we would be talking about this kind of stuff all the time. And we just don't do that as often. But it
no.
was nice when, and I think things might have been like sort of unfurling at a pretty quick rate at that time, and maybe not so much now. But something I haven't shared with you yet, when you're saying about like your body has to be able to handle what's happening. I
Hmm.
used to have this thing where I would, if I stayed like an hour, I would be okay, like in a mediumship session or some kind of session. But man, if I stayed longer, like 10, 15 minutes longer, suddenly my energy would feel like it was sort of plummeting.
Mm.
And then I would have to walk away and do other types of things for a few hours, and maybe I would bounce back, maybe I wouldn't. So I wouldn't get a whole lot done in a day, spiritual stuff done, because
Hmm.
I'd be like, okay, I need to, I don't know, do something else. So I would just anyway. And I realized recently that how I handle doing those things must have changed, because now I have had days where I've had a couple of readings in a day. No,
You're
not
not
that I haven't done
sure.
that before, but I used to clean out and, like I did a lot of work to manage my energy. And then maybe I got lazy. But anyway, but I feel like I can handle a lot more now. So when you're saying like our vibration, are we that low? Are we such schmucks that we can't like kind of get it together?
Get it
But
up. Come on.
suck it up. But it can also change, just like our mediumship changes over time.
Yeah.
I'm seeing, and I wasn't consciously trying to change in that particular way. Could have been happening unconsciously, but it's kind of cool to be able to notice having a lot more capacity for something than you did before.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, if I think about how it was in the beginning, it was always a surprise, of course,
Hmm.
for me, because anything I ever saw was like, oh, holy shit, did you see that? And, nobody else saw it or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. Oh, yeah, I had that dream. And they're like, okay, but it was always a surprise. But now
Hmm.
it's, it's not a surprise. And now I look for it. And that's good, because
Yeah.
it's taken up so much of my life that it's right there with me all the time. And this is
Hmm.
something that I wanted for a long time, but I couldn't do it. And I was not feeling well for about, oh, I don't know, 5, 7, 10 years. I don't know, something.
I'm getting 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, closer to 10, maybe probably more than that essentially, but it's the 10 was probably the hardest.
Yeah.
So I had to come out of something. And but yeah, now it's like I'm I feel like I have how do you say? Um I'm not clogged. like I was.
Nice.
I think I was clogged for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's maintenance, you know.
Mm.
And it's not like I could have done this by myself. I'm not taking credit for clearing out my body, although I did work at it,
Yeah.
during that time. And but yeah, I had help. We always have help.
You need help. We can't do this on our own.
Yeah.
And you were talking a little bit earlier about having an experience and then turning to a friend like, hey, uh, and I just texted Maria yesterday, probably 2 years ago, I noticed my sense of taste and smell were like
Right, right.
so diminished. And I don't know what it was like before then,
That's so cool.
but suddenly it was like really kind of gone. I mean, not completely. I've had it completely gone. It wasn't that, but it was very, very
Very
low.
low.
Yeah. And I remember asking you about that because I would always ask you when I couldn't get clarity on something or I knew I couldn't be objective. Hey, Maria, would you mind asking about this? And you told me, I forget why you said it was happening. I don't know that you told me that part, but you did tell me that it was going to be temporary.
Did we record this one? No, probably not. I don't know.
I have no idea. And it's so, I mean, I haven't asked yet, but I did want to let you know the other day, like, oh, hey, you were right about this. And what a great way to help a friend build more confidence is if, excuse me, you're iffy about, and that's what you were saying about being surprised. You're surprised that you get stuff, or you're surprised.
I'm surprised, yeah, that of things I see that other people don't see. I'm
Mm,
surprised. I'm surprised that anybody comes to me at all sometimes. I mean, I do look for them, but
yeah.
now, sometimes I'm just surprised because it, and I was surprised for a long time.
Yeah.
I
No,
shouldn't
I'm with
say
you.
I'm as surprised because now it's made the turn of
Mm,
I'm
yeah.
looking for that communication. So that's the good part. Although I still get surprised. And sometimes it's to my detriment, you know, because I'll go, what? No, I don't believe that. You know,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, pshaw, what are you talking about? And I do that all the time. I do. And I hope it
Yeah.
doesn't
Well,
make me
and
an asshole, but I
you're
don't mean to
not
be,
an
but
You're
it's
not an asshole, but look, there, it's interesting to me to hear you say that because there are times when I find myself, I don't know, it's kind of a weird, it's become kind of a weird experience in some ways for me, just, I don't know, trying to just be me because I'll get stuff kind of all the time sometimes. And that started, we were in a group, maybe it started 3 or 4 years ago. And there were times, I don't know what happened, but at some point, suddenly I was like in the flow always. And I would get messages with somebody would be talking about something. I'm getting a message. Somebody would talk to somebody else. Here's another message. Like it's like I was plugged in all the time. And I've had phases of that and then phases where it wasn't that way and I missed it.
mm,
And now, I just kind of blurt out what I get because I'm not trying to get a hit on something, but it happens so frequently and it kind of so naturally. And I think I'm also a lot more relaxed in the whole process of things. Like I did a reading on a cat, my friend's cat, and she asked, like, of all the times that you've done readings on animals, how many times? And I'm like, just this is the first time I'm doing a whole reading on a cat. But I seemed so relaxed and sort of normal with the whole thing. And I think that helps is I've really accepted, yeah, I do get stuff. I mean, especially when I'm grounding and asking and open, and I don't filter in the way that I used to, like, ugh, because you're so afraid of being full of crap because it comes so easily and it's just this very soft way that it comes in. Like I asked the cat or I thought this question about to the cat and then this whole thing comes and it's just like it comes in a millisecond. I mean, it's still at times it still feels very surreal.
yeah, I
Like,
think it's always going to feel surreal.
mm,
It is
okay.
because you're going from one state to the other. And
Mm,
as soon as you go from the ethereal state, whatever you want to call it, back to crunchy land where we live, it, you know, isn't
Crunchy
that what
land.
it feels
Write
like?
that down, crunchy land.
Crunchy land. That's what it feels like. It feels like we live in crunchy land.
Yeah.
But it's that going back and forth that makes you feel surreal. Because over
Mm.
there, to them, I'm sure it doesn't feel very surreal at all. It's probably like, and they're used to it, or some of them are probably getting used to it. I don't know. But here, yeah, it's like you bring that over and it's like every time. Every time. I'm always like when it's something significant, I'm always like, oh, that's too weird. And then comes the and that's the part that I want to
That's
get
and
through.
yeah. And when you mentioned earlier, I did take a couple of notes about respecting spirit and respecting what they're trying to do or what they're trying to share with us. I'm with you. If we push it away because of self-doubt, then we're like, we're kind of wasting their energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting with, I'm really sitting in the idea of how to like expand my business and what I do, or I don't know. I've been feeling stagnant in certain ways, and this is the year I'm feeling it. This is
Good.
the year of change. And so I had to like sit with my own negative self thoughts of like, nobody wants to hear what you have to say, Noelle. Nobody cares, Noelle. I mean, I
I
really do, that's part of why probably I am plugged in so much when I'm with other people is that's what they want to hear, not me. That's what I want to hear, not me.
yeah.
So that's I project that. It's not always, maybe it's not always true, maybe it is. I'm not really sure. Um, but I realize like why am I like hiding? I'm not trying to feel like this, genius spiritual woman. Like I'm a good channel. I've learned to shut up and receive and say that and receive and say that and to try to do it as precisely as I can. Exactly how the tone of it, everything. And I've done a lot of practicing of that. So I'm
And
basically,
everyone should take a page out of that book, because that's a fantastic discipline. It is a discipline. And because you can sit there and I catch myself talking to spirit and then I go off somewhere and it's like, where did you go for the last half an hour? And I'm like, I'm sorry. What were we, where did this start? Can we go back? Because, and I'm not actually reading for people. I'm just trying to, figure out my life kind of shit.
yeah.
But, yeah, it's like, well, where did you go for half an hour?
Mm.
And I'm
Well,
sure they're like, oh my God.
I don't know that they're eye rolling at
They're
us at
probably
all.
like, we're gonna go play pool now. Let us know when you're ready.
We're going to go for a beer. You
Yeah.
let us know when you feel like tuning in again, Maria, and we'll be back.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like what you're, oh, sorry.
No, I thought you froze for a sec. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just thinking. You might have smelled it. Um, but I like what you're saying about finding ways to validate what you're getting. I mean, I do my, pendulum lean energy testing thing, and
Amazing.
I do it. Actually, I think I do it less now than I was doing it. I don't check everything that I get when I do a reading, and not like I'm doing oodles and oodles of readings,
Because
but
you're starting to know.
I'm feeling it more certain. I'm feeling more certainty already. And anyway, but where we started was getting information and it's like become even more subtle. And so I was saying how I just get like, it's almost like I have this like, oh, I think I just got some kind of, this is how it feels. I feel like I just got some kind of message. Something just shifted. And it must be related to you, person that I'm on Zoom with. So let me just start talking because I think I can I think I, but it's like somebody's blowing bubbles. A bubble came here and it kind of splatted on me, and all I'm aware of is the bubble splatted.
Mhm.
And now I'm just going to try to tune into. what was inside the bubble
What?
and just talk. That's
Hmm.
how clear it is. Like when
That's
it first
fabulous.
happens. Well, it's a little unnerving. And I bet there are people who just get claircognizant downloads and it may feel like that to them all the time. And
Mhm.
then how do you learn like to be confident or learn how competent you are at actually picking up stuff is you have to share it with people and ask for validation. Like, do you connect with this? Or, you know,
Mhm.
like I had a dream the other day about, I worked with kids in a group home many years ago, and I had a dream about one of the young women that I haven't thought about in a long time. And I reach out and I'm just checking in with her. Hey, I had a dream about, and these were a couple of the things in there. One was that she was with her high school boyfriend in the dream. And the other was that we were going to like start a business together. And I had this feeling of like, well, of course I'd start a business with her. I like her, I trust her, she's very competent. And when I reached out to say, oh, I had this dream, she's like, oh, well, that ex just got in touch with me because we have a kid together. So he's trying to be back in the kid's life. And I am starting a business. I was like,
Wow.
okay.
Cool.
And I don't get surprised by
Wow.
that anymore,
Beautiful.
really. And I can say that, but it still at times seems surreal that I am, you know, that kind of radar. But I know I'm not full of crap because I reach, and this is my advice, suggestion, thought, recommendation to our watcher or listener is that when you get those things, if you share them when you get them, you might be like, holy crap, I really am picking up on stuff. And that's how you build the confidence to do readings later or to believe what's coming out of your own mouth because it's easy to discount that. And I can't. I've had that kind of experience that I just described way too many times to be like, uh, I'm full of crap or I don't know what I'm doing or I don't know what I like saying, I don't know. What do I know? But this is what I feel like I'm getting because it takes me, the human that wants to feel not completely incompetent, takes me out of the equation, which I like.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the hard part,
Mm-hmm.
for me, because I'm not reading for anybody. I'm going to just
Yeah,
close the book. I'm so
sure.
sorry.
Go ahead.
They,
Her dogs. I do hope you're finding this valuable.
it's our male girl. They love
Okay.
to bark at her.
She's fun.
Okay. So where were we? Um, I think that's wonderful. And I love that. Oh, okay. You were saying when you're communicating for other people, of course it's incredibly, you have to put yourself aside because you're complete medium. But
Yeah.
what do you do when you're communicating with your own family and you're having conversations and then you're going, oh, wait a minute, did I take that someplace where what just,
Mm.
because now it's you that's communicating.
Yeah.
So, and then what?
Well, even more. No, I'm with you. And I've had that experience too. I've had to face that part of it because that's hard. I want to laugh. I take my sleep gummies and my, there have been a couple of times, my grandmother would come to me or my grandfather, other people, and I'm like, I'm getting ready for bed. I'm like, I'm so high. I'm like, okay, it's time for bed. I'm going to brush my teeth and go to sleep. And they start coming to me and I'm like, I'm not going to remember this. Why do you come down? But you know what? Probably because I'm relaxed and I'm not questioning. I'm laughing more, but I'm not questioning what I'm getting because I know I'm not really having any thoughts of my own. My
That's,
brain is kind of, floating, let's say.
mhm.
So that helps in that state. But otherwise, yes, to build the confidence, connecting with other people's people for them, and then learning, okay, I guess I'm not full of crap. And then you have to be able to apply that to yourself at some point. But look, when I would connect with my grandparents, let's say, I would double check everything that I got. Because if they said, "Oh, we love you," or "We're proud of you," I remember they, you know, when I was on one of my mediumship retreats, my grandmother said, "We're very proud of you," or something. And it was like I had this moment of like, wow, I can feel like I didn't make that up, although I'm sure I double checked it, because it was like the first time I felt like I didn't need to hear that. But yes, it's really easy to fall in the trap of, well, I really wanted them to say that kind of thing. So find your way, whatever that is, to, and I could see using tarot cards or some kind of divination tool, maybe a pendulum, to take the hopeful you out of the equation
Mhm.
that wants whatever that message might be. But at some point, you have to just suck it up and freaking trust yourself.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to stop doing the, no, I'm probably making that. No, were you trying to make that up? Were you sitting there thinking, what would I want to hear from my grandmother? I mean, probably not.
Yeah, I mean, it would take a lot. It would take some. I mean, I know that the human brain is complicated and clever and all kinds of things, but yeah, and it does do the self, which is why I think it does the self-doubting. It's
Hmm.
I think part of it may be a mechanism that we, don't go too far one way or the other, possibly. Um, now this goes back to the beginning, but I do believe that the message was that the rune tier under this whole talk that we're having about communicating with spirits and the whole action of transmuting from one to the other, it has to be that way, or we would lose our fucking minds. I guess that's what I keep getting
Okay.
from this whole thing is that we have to have some kind of organization, or it's just what we have to have in this world, in this reality. We have to have a certain amount of organization, and we have to be as free in our thinking as we possibly can to just be open to and to raising our level of reality, because it is contagious. I mean, I really think it is. And so yeah, the more people that realize that we're connected and they're all sitting there talking to us, waiting for us, helping us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's what it kind
Yeah.
of comes down to.
Yeah. And I love what you were saying earlier. So the idea of staying humble, and thank goodness I'm able to do what I'm doing at this chunk of my life or this chapter of my life, and not like, let's say, 15 years ago when I was way more desperate to feel good about myself. And so I would have become probably pretty arrogant. And then I'm sure I would have lost it, my ability to do this.
Hmm.
Rightfully so, if I did
Oh
that,
yeah,
because
I don't know
that would have
how
been
people,
very egoic.
yeah, I don't know if somebody with, a lot of self um indulgence could really do this.
Mm.
I don't know how much
Or not well. Yeah.
self-indulgence you can have and pull this off, because yeah, you're going to be a dark magician if that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, because you have to have some kind of empathy to communicate. You can't just, I mean, I suppose maybe that's what's happened for billions of years, not billions, but at least since medieval times, that they, get used to dictating and making and drawing energy and making it happen. It seems terribly rude. Seems terribly rude to
What?
to treat spirit that way, as these,
Oh,
you
oof.
know, oh, sorry.
Ouch.
It is rude. They're going, fuck right it is. You
Oof.
okay?
Yeah, I get more pains these days. It's
Mm,
weird when I'm doing stuff, and now I'm getting some chills. which I don't love the pain. There's a woman that I see run into somewhere, and she bought a package of 3 sessions with me, and I met with her after I did Reiki on somebody, which I don't do very often, and she had neck stuff, big neck stuff, and I felt her neck stuff, and I must not have maybe
Clear.
already had something on of my own, but I was not great about my energy hygiene and and then I meet with this next woman and I'm just describing all the things I'm feeling. And I do that because I'm assuming I'm feeling it because it's hers, but some of it she's not feeling. And I was just like, oh, fuck. Like this is me and it's accumulating now. And I didn't, anyway, I ran into her the other day and she's like basically saying, and I respected her saying it, like, I want to do the next session, but I'm kind of afraid of doing that because I feel like it really impacted you negatively. And I was like, I'm sorry, I totally overshared. And I wouldn't share this with her, but you know what? I was in pain for days. But that was me. I didn't take good care of myself. I can't blame that on anybody else, but I need to be way more diligent about that kind of thing. If I'm going to, again, back to like creating ourselves as somebody who can have more capacity. Like if I'm going to, especially any kind of healing modality, like I need to wipe that shit off and be really disciplined like how I used to be when I was
Mhm.
more nervous about it.
We need to
Um,
feel, I know this sounds so weird, but we need to feel pretty. We do. We need to feel pretty when we go into spirit contact in the sense that I'm clean. I'm ready for you. I'm clean and that kind and to have a good heart about it. To always want the best possible outcomes.
mm. So
And
like being an appealing communicator? Is that what you mean by
yeah,
pretty?
yeah. I mean pretty
Okay.
like I'm ready. When you go you get ready for somebody.
Okay.
You're like, okay, I'm ready.
That's cute. I wouldn't have thought that, but that's cute. Okay. Be
I mean,
pretty.
I do think, and I don't think about that as much as I should. A long time ago, I used to think that way, and it's like it's starting to come back to me. It's like, well, we should really put on our best. We put on our best face for everyone. Not that they don't know us for who we are. It's
Of
not like we're
course.
pretending,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you're going to work together.
Yeah.
Good morning. Hi, we're here.
And
I do think
yeah,
that's
and
really
it's and thank you. So Margot, the episode that she was on for my podcast, she talked about reciprocity with spirit. And that's not something that I hear very often or necessarily even really think about so much. But I loved how she brought that up. And she has these classes that she does every 2 weeks that I go to. And I love when she brings it up. It's such a good reminder, to thank those in spirit for helping us. We're encouraged to ask for things, and then I don't know how we reciprocate. And there are times when I've thought, wow, I'm asking like a lot, and I hope what you're receiving is that there's work that we both wanted to do together, and if I'm doing my part, I hope that's like that's the fulfilling part for the person in spirit
That's all that's
is.
needed. It's
Yeah.
just you play your part, you do your job. And
Yeah.
it's basically to be a witness.
Mm.
You're witnessing
Hmm.
and transcribing but it's not it's not about when you're doing it for somebody, it's not about you. It's a, yeah, you're just a mediator. I know that's why they call them mediums, right?
Oh yeah.
All us mediums. But you
Or
are,
also like you're like the canvas,
yeah.
like spirit is the painter and then you are like you become the message, I guess, or what comes out of you is the message. So,
It's a message. And
yeah.
it's crystallized through you. It's an
Hmm.
art form.
It is actually. Even being able to articulate those feelings. Like I was saying, I get, but depending on who I'm connecting with in spirit, I guess, I'm getting just like less words. And I used to get like 3 words at a time, and then it would just kind of flow through. And now it's like, it's almost like somebody's just kind of doing this, just a little,
Wow.
this is the impression they're giving me. And then this flood of information can come out of my mouth, not flood. That was their word, not mine. But yeah, but I think, we can waste a lot of time with self-doubt. And I just want to encourage everybody that how do you prove you have competence in any area? In
Right.
any area. And use that mindset about this too, because I think you should if you want to develop this. But and it's a choice, not everybody wants to connect or connect as much or as often or, even
Right.
kind of as deeply as we're talking about now. I
And
don't
I
think
think, yeah, go
no, go
on.
ahead.
No, I'm agreeing. And yeah, you can't just start off like, you know, getting to know, unless you're born that way and and it never leaves you, you know. And I know there's people like that, but I think when it comes and goes for you, and if you want it to keep it going, you have to look for it. You have to say, okay,
Hmm.
so what are we going to do today?
Yeah,
What's happening today? And be open to it. And then more will come. But if you want it like just, on Halloween or Christmas, and you
that's
know,
okay.
or
Yeah.
when you go to church on Sundays, or whatever you
Yeah.
want to worship, then that could be your time. You could put aside special time to be with spirit, so you don't feel, because I think what happens is people get scared because you're getting pulled away from this reality. And that's scary
Yeah.
until you know that the other reality isn't really so
And then you just bounce right back to this one.
bad.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like when people are afraid to cry because they haven't cried in a long time and they're afraid they'll never stop or something. It's like, well, that might be kind of dramatic.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work that way.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But it is a but
But
the
the
fear comes
fear,
up.
mhm,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
very real fear. Like, it
Yeah.
won't stop,
Yeah,
and
feeling overtaken.
yes,
Overtaken. Yeah.
yes. And you know what that is a nightmare. Truly. It's in every horror movies. It's the spirits
Mm.
follow you around and they're trying to get something from you. And yeah, and it's like, really, they're like, oh God, man, really?
Like she's not listening. Let's move on. We'll come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Or, I think she's had a little too much. I think we're just gonna, like I mean, I'm sure I felt like I was having brain suck. I was like,
mm.
I lost my shit. And they're like, okay, well, we're just gonna back off a little bit. And it was all good. So yeah, you just have to and be you, right?
Yeah.
You created a discipline of 3 words, and now you're getting a touch. That is so Noelle. Honestly, that is so Noelle. It is so intellectual. I just love you. I just do. That's just awesome.
I do not experience myself that way at all, but you're not the only person who says that to me, so I'm
Really?
gonna
Oh, as an intellectual, but yeah, you really are. That you have a wonderful way of breaking things down and organizing, and I think that's just a wonderful thing, because you can
thanks.
take these concepts and actually, separate and build on them, and that's so beautiful,
And
really.
not everybody needs that, and I recognize that. Like Margot, I think is a little like, I don't know what you call it. I'm like, hold on, this is that, and this is like I do have like categories, but it also helps me understand things. And I do have some, cognition issues. So there are times when I'm like, can you tell me again differently? Because I know you just explained this 3 times and it's just not getting in. So that's part of it is it helps me because I am at times pretty slow. And also if I'm going to explain things to other people, well, I'm like dense. Anyway, I don't want to put myself down. I'm doing
Yeah,
the best
we're
that I
gonna sit
can.
here and have a little competition.
Who's more mentally challenged, you or
Yeah.
me, Maria? I'm going to say me, but I'm always going to say me and
And
whatever.
ditto. So we're even.
Yeah. But, I do talk about this in places. So part of it is wanting to be able to say it well so people can understand it if this is their first time hearing it or maybe the third time hearing it, but they're listening a little bit differently. So it is important to me to be able to understand and explain for a few reasons.
Right. I mean, what hence we do this. And I think it's just I just love it that we do it. We're doing it this way and that you have your view that you have because it's really priceless.
Yeah, and you always have brought new concepts to me since we reconnected as adults, as spiritual people. You always like are like, I've been thinking about this, and I'm like, holy crap, I hadn't even thought about it. But you know what? Just the other day, blah 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 blah. Blah.
I have a lot of questions.
It's exciting though. I mean, we're
It
kind
is.
of like, we're like, oh, I just got this really cute visual of us, and I'm seeing like this big park. I've seen this park before. There's like a lake on the side, and then there's like a path. It's like a concrete path, or anyway, whatever it is. And then there's just all these trees ahead of us, and I just got this visual of us as like little girls, like kind of linked arms, and we're skipping into like the forest part.
Oh, we are. We're going into the big forest.
But we're going together, and we look the words that are coming to me are gleefully and joyfully.
Yeah.
And that's way different than how it would have been, years ago, or, like dealing with all the fear that, you have to deal with to get to that place.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, there's been some sacrifice on both our parts for sure.
It really does take work. And I agree with you about keeping yourself as a channel clean, like pretty,
Yeah.
but, practicing and, not getting mired down and stuff. I'm wondering if part of, and maybe some other time when you're able to connect, if you wouldn't mind asking why my sense of taste is back. But I had such a crappy day yesterday with all the work that was done in the house and other things. And I just wanted to like kind of escape. So I was asking about having alcohol, which it tastes terrible to me when I try it. And there are
No,
times I've gotten a clear no. But
no.
I was like, can you handle, I ask about a beer, I get a big no. I'm like, strawberry margarita, because I've got that in the fridge. And I'm like, I get a no. And I'm like, wine, please, like, work with me here, people,
Red
Like, it just,
wine?
I
Red
had
wine,
a sip. It
okay.
was sorry,
Red wine is okay
is
or
that what
no?
you're getting?
Yeah. If you're gonna try one,
It tasted terrible.
you like
Every
it.
wine I taste, it really tastes terrible to me. And there's a part of me that I want, like, now I want to be like a brat and like, thanks a lot. Like, I wanted this, anyway. Um, but even that kind of stuff, like really trying to stay attuned to the information I'm getting, even icing. I hate icing. I hate icing, but I'm really trying to listen, even listening to my body more. So I'm icing, this pain. But I don't listen. A lot of times I don't listen. So
So,
maybe I'm getting my sense of taste and smell back because I'm listening and I'm doing the right things and my body is ready to, I don't know what.
well, I am getting that the work is making you clean. It's bringing
Mm,
you health.
okay.
And as long
I
as
can get
you
that.
you keep doing the work for, good reasons, and you're gonna keep doing better and getting healthier.
Good. Yeah. I'm so glad we did this.
You, me too.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
good.
This was good. And thank you for joining us. If you're still here, good job. It's been a little over an hour and a half. And if you got something out of this, let us know. Put a comment in the comments. If you think it sucked and we look old, don't tell us that because we don't want to hear that. But if you have,
No.
we're 56. How old are we supposed to look? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's accepting we are how we are. Um, Although I think we're doing fine. But anyway,
Yeah,
but
you
yeah,
look great.
so do you. I mean, I wouldn't think you were my age. Anyway, you're still adorable, Maria. And
You're
Maria's like, how tall are you, Maria? 4'9"?
I am 4, no, I'm
Sorry.
4'11. Please.
So if she looks adorable, she's adorable in person too. I haven't seen you in a long time, but oh, that's right. I was just thinking about you yesterday. We haven't talked in a while, although we're
Yes.
anyway putting the band back together. But I was just thinking about you yesterday and the idea of like actually meeting up somewhere. So
Oh, that would be
anyway,
nice.
so it's cool that you
I would
called today.
love to go have lunch.
It would have to be more
Or
than lunch.
something.
Maria lives very far away from me.
Yeah,
Drivable, but it's long. Anyway, we'll figure that out in a different conversation. But anyway, if you enjoyed this, let us know. And I really do hope that it supports you and your journey. You're not alone. You're not the weirdo, or we're all weirdos and we're joining the weirdo club. But either way, you're
you're in
one of
good
us.
company.
You're in good company. So take care and love you, Maria. And we'll talk soon.
Love you, Noelle.
Bye.
Bye.